Hey guys, this is Test 32 Game 2. This is the French and Russian novels and plays game. It's an in-out game, also known as selection. This game is a bit different from a lot of other selection games because we have multiple variables of the same type. We have 3 French novels, 3 Russian novels, 2 French plays, 1 Russian play. And they somewhat specify the number of things we will have in. We could have either 5 or 6 things in, which means we could have either 3 or 4 things out. Only one of the rules here is a conditional. So for that reason, there isn't going to be a lot of linking here of conditional statements. Instead, we're going to be linking together different aspects of different variables. So like the first rule mentions French, the third rule mentions French, the second rule mentions novels, and the third rule mentions novels. So those are going to link together somewhat, not like conditional linking, but just that we're going to make inferences from considering those things simultaneously. So the first rule says no more than 4 French works are selected. So that means there is less than or equal to 4 French things in the game. At least 3 but no more than 4 novels are selected, so 3n or 4n. Next, at least as many French novels as Russian novels. So French novels are greater than or equal to Russian novels. And finally, if both French plays, then not the Russian play. So 2FP requires not RP. Those are all the rules. Now we can make some inferences by considering these rules at the same time. So like, for example, consider the second and third rules together. At least 3 novels, and the number of French novels is greater than or equal to the number of Russian novels. Could we ever have 0 French novels? No, because if we had 0 French novels, we'd have 0 Russian novels, and then how would we be able to reach that minimum of 3? For the same reason we can't have 1 French novel only, because 1 French novel requires, max 1 Russian novel. That'd be only 2 novels, and we need a minimum of 3 once again. So for that reason, we can infer that we've got to have at least 2 French novels at all times. And having 2 French novels, we couldn't get away with having 0 Russian novels, because then we'd have only 2 novels altogether, not 3. So for that reason, if we've got 2 French novels, we've got to have at least 1 Russian novel to make that minimum of 3. Also, if we had 2 French novels, we could have 2 Russian novels. That is also a possibility, because then we would reach the maximum of 4 novels. Either way, 3 or 4, we're fine. We just got to have one of those 2 numbers. Next, if we had 3 French novels, that would be okay. If we had 3 French novels, we could get away with having only 1 Russian novel, or actually 0 Russian novels. Yes, that's right, we could have 0 Russian novels. That would allow us to have the minimum of 3 novels, which is okay. Or we could have 3 French novels, 0 Russian novels, or 3 French novels and 1 Russian novel, making us have 4 novels altogether, which is okay. So now that we've addressed the novels component of the game, what about the French thing? So at least, maximum 4 French novels right here, and we know we have either 5 or 6 works of literature total. So if we had the top possibility here with already 3 things, that means we've got to have at least 2 more, and maybe a third. Now, we couldn't actually have a third extra thing, because we can never have all of the plays. If we have 2 French plays, then we do not have the single Russian play. So for that reason, we're only going to have 2 more things potentially on that top level. Now, because there are 2 French plays, 1 Russian play, we can't have, both of these be Russian plays, of course. At least one of them will be a French play for certain, and then the other will be a French play or a Russian play. We do not know which it will be. So that takes care of this top listed possibility right here. As for the next possibility, 2FN and 2RN, that's already 4 things, so we've got to have at least 1 more, and maybe we will have a sixth. Now, either of those could be a French play or a Russian play. We really have no clue. So I'm just going to do FP/RP for both of those, because we don't really know what's happening here. It's kind of ambiguous. For the next level, 3 French novels, 0 Russian novels. That's already only 3 things. So we've got to have 2 more. We cannot have a third because, again, that would require having all 3 of the plays, 2 FP and 1 RP, and those guys conflict according to the final rule. So we already have 3 Frenches. We can only get away with having 1 more French, because if we had 2 French plays, that would exceed the maximum of 4 French things dictated by the first rule of the game. So one of these things will be a French play, the other will be a Russian play. Finally, 3 French novels, 1 Russian novel. That's already 4 things, so we will only be able to have at least 1 more for certain. Maybe we will have a 6th. This time it is possible to have a 6th thing. We already have 3 Frenches, so only 1 more French remains that we could use. So I'm going to put down FP/RP for both of these. We cannot have them both be French plays if we actually had this 6th thing right here. So all we've got to do here is remember these cannot both be Russian plays, and they cannot both be French plays. So you could make a little notation on the side over here if you want, like 2 FP with a slash through it, 2 RP with a slash through it. I'm not going to bother, but that's basically what we're looking at for this game. This is the setup. These are our main possibilities for the game. 1, 2, 3, 4. First, second, third, fourth. Those are our possibilities, and this is our setup for the game. Now, number 7. General could be true question, general orientation question. Easiest way to do this, just take 1 rule at a time and apply that rule to all 5 choices, looking for violations. So one thing we could do is the 3N or 4N thing. That's a pretty easy rule to check for compliance with, to look for violations through the choices. So A has 3 novels total, that's okay. B has 3 novels, C has 4, D has 4, E has 5. That is unacceptable. E is eliminated. Next, we could look for the rule, the third rule, the French novels are greater or more numerous than or equal to the Russian novels. So at least as many French novels as Russian novels, maybe even more. A has 1 French novel, 2 Russian novels. That's violating this. A is gone. B has more French than Russian novels. That's good. C has them equal. D has more French than Russian novels. E has more French than Russian novels, so only A was eliminated there. Next, we can look for the final rule that the 2 French plays conflict with the Russian play. We cannot have all 3 of them. So running through the remaining choices, B has all 3 of them, 2 French and 1 Russian. Unacceptable. B is gone. C and D both comply with that rule, so they're okay on that issue. Finally, the first rule that I skipped, max 4 French things. C has 4 French things, 2 French novels, 2 French novels, 2 French plays, but D has 3 French novels and 2 French plays. That is too many French things. That is 5, not 4. D is eliminated, and C is our answer. Next, number 8, general could be true question. What could be true regarding the selection of works? So all we can do here is use our understanding of the rules, use our inferences where we made these possibilities here, and then run through the choices, working by elimination. 0 Russian novels. Could we ever lack all the Russians? Yes, we could. We see that right here. 3 French novels, 0 Russian novels is a possibility. So for that reason, A is our answer to this question, and we are good. I'll run through the others, though. B, exactly 1 French novel. No, we've always got to have at least 2 French novels at all times. B is gone. C, all 3 plays. No, the plays conflict. We can never have all 3. That's according to the final rule of the game. C is gone. D, all 3 Russian novels. We could have 0 Russian novels, 1 Russian novel, or 2 Russian novels, but never 3. That would lead to too many novels overall due to the fact that the number of French novels must exceed the number of Russian novels. And then E, all 5 French works. No, maximum 4 first rule of the game, and E is eliminated, leaving A if you didn't get it before. Next, number 9. If we have 3 French novels, what could be a complete list of the remaining works of literature? in a given scenario. So 3 French novels, that's our bottom 2 possibilities right here, the third possibility and the fourth possibility. So we can just check against those. Could we have only 1 Russian novel in addition? Well, we could have a Russian novel, but that couldn't be the only thing we have, because that'd be a total of 4 works, and we've got to have 5 or 6 works total due to the initial paragraph of the game. So A would not be a complete list of other things we might have. B, 2 French plays. We could have, actually no, we couldn't even have 2 French plays. We could have a French play and a Russian play, or a French play and a Russian play, but never both Frenches. That would lead to too many French things overall. So B is gone for number 9. C, 1 Russian novel, 1 Russian play. We could have 3 French novels, 1 Russian novel, 1 Russian play. That would lead to a total of 5 things. Totally cool. C is our answer. I'll go through the others though. D, 1 Russian novel, 2 French plays. That's the bottom. 1 Russian novel, 2 French plays. But that leads again to 5 French things total. 3 French novels, 2 French plays. Too many things because we got to have maximum 4 French things. So D is eliminated. E, 2 French novels, 1 Russian play. If we have 3 French novels, we could never have 2 Russian novels because that leads to 5 novels total, and we have either 3 novels or 4 novels due to the second rule of the game. So E is gone. C is our answer if you didn't get it before. Next, number 10, organizer must at least select. So minimum, at a minimum, some category, meaning like French novels, French plays, Russian plays, has got to have a minimum of something. So we know that, we got to have at least 2 French novels, maybe even 3, minimum 2 French novels. D describes that. D is our answer. I'll look through the others though. 1 French novel, 1 French play. We do have to have at least 1 French novel, of course, but there are scenarios in which we could lack French plays altogether. For example, this second possibility here, the fourth possibility there, we might get away with having a Russian play and no French plays at all. A is gone. B, 1 French novel, 1 Russian play. Again, we gotta have at least 1 French novel, in fact 2, but we could get away with having no Russian plays. For example, again, the second possibility and the fourth, we could lack Russian plays altogether. B is gone. C, a Russian novel and a French play. We could actually have 0 Russian novels in this third listed possibility. C is gone. E, 2 Russian novels. Again, we could have 0 Russian novels, maybe even only 1. So E is gone, leaving D if you didn't get it before. Number 11, any one of the following could be true except. So 4 of these things are possible, 1 of them is impossible. Obviously no way to predict what they're going to ask us. I would just run through the choices. Could we have 0 Russian novels and exactly 1 play? Well, if we have 0 Russian novels, we're referring specifically to this third listed possibility here. 0 Russian novels means 3 French novels. Could we have only 1 play in this scenario? No, here we have exactly 2 plays, a French play and a Russian play. If we have 0 Russian novels, we have to have 3 French novels. Then how would we reach our minimum of 5 things total if we had only 1 play? We wouldn't. We'd have only 4, which is unacceptable. So for that reason, A is our answer, given that it is impossible to have 0 Russian novels and only 1 play. If we have 0 Russian novels, we've got to have at least 2 plays. A is our answer for number 11.